Jai Hind everyone, myself Dr. Vandana Sharma. The subject which I am taking is Engineering Physics and the subject code is KS101T. The topic which I have started, that is laser, and the topic for today's discussion is Ruby laser. Ruby laser, this was the first laser in the market. This laser was discovered in 1960. Ruby laser, this is a 3-level laser because 3 energy states are participating in light amplification. As you know, all type of laser systems which are there in the market, either those lasers, they are 3-level laser or 4-level laser, as we have already discussed in our previous lecture. So since in Ruby laser 3 states will participate, so this laser is known as a 3-level laser. Then next one is, this laser is known as a solid state laser. This is the next point, solid state laser. So as I mentioned earlier in my previous lecture, that the active medium of any laser system that can exist in solid form or in liquid form or in gaseous form. In Ruby laser, since the active medium is in solid state, so that is the reason this laser is known as a solid state laser. Right? Next one is, since it is a 3-level laser, and you also know, as I mentioned in my previous lecture, that a 3-level laser will always give you output in pulse mode. So this laser operates in pulse mode. You are going to get the spikes in output. Spikes means you are not getting continuous output. You will get a laser pulse, then no output, then you are getting next laser pulse. So that is the reason, that is the meaning of spikes in output. Next point is the output of Ruby laser. That output is in visible range of electromagnetic spectrum. As you know that human eyes, they are sensitive only to a small part of electromagnetic spectrum. Roughly the wavelength range which our eyes can perceive, that is from 4000 angstrom to roughly 8000 angstrom. So since the output wavelength, the output photons, they are having wavelength 6943 angstrom. So you can say the output is in visible range of electromagnetic spectrum. So these are the general features of Ruby laser. So what I am telling you here, that Ruby laser, that first laser which came into our market, that was Ruby laser, and it was discovered in 1960. Next point is, it is a 3-level laser because 3 energy states are participating. Then it is a solid state laser because its active medium is in solid state. It operates in pulse mode because you are not getting continuous output there. And the next point is, output is in visible range 6943 angstrom. Now as you know, there are 3 main components of any laser system. First one is active medium, then you have a pumping source, then you have a resonant cavity. So now in this slide, I am going to discuss the main components of laser system, or you can say construction of Ruby laser. So all these 3 components, they will be discussed in this particular topic in this slide. So the first one is active medium. Since it is a solid state laser, and all type of solid state lasers which are there in the market, their active medium is having 2 parts. Means if a laser is a solid state laser, then there will be 2 components in the active medium of that solid state laser. First component, that will play the role of host material, and the second will be impurity ions which will be added into that host material. So the first component which is host material of this Ruby laser, that is your Al2O3 crystal. So this is the host material of Ruby laser. There is a Al2O3 crystal, a pink ruby rod is there, aluminum oxide crystal is there. that is the host material, and in this host material, in this aluminum oxide crystal, chromium ions are added, that is 0.05% of chromium ions. They are doped in that Al2O3 crystal. So what is the meaning of doping here? Some of the aluminum ions, Al3 plus ions, these ions will be replaced by chromium ions, and these chromium ions, actually these ions are participating in light amplification. Al2O3 crystal, that will provide the base for this ruby laser, that is the host material of this ruby laser, and actually the participants which are participating in light amplification, those participants are chromium ions. So these chromium ions are known as active ions of ruby laser. So this is active medium of ruby laser. So what is active medium of ruby laser? Since it is a solid state laser, its active medium is having two components. Host material, which is Al2O3 crystal, which is doped with Cr3 plus ions. And what are the active ions? Cr3 plus ions. Next one is pumping source. So as you know, the second essential component of any laser system is its pumping source. And what is the role of pumping source? A pumping source that will help to achieve population inversion. So in case of ruby laser, since it is a solid state laser, and all the solid state lasers, they are based upon optical pumping sources, means in solid state lasers, we will achieve population inversion using an optical pumping source. Reason is, optical pumping sources, they are having broad absorption and emission spectra. That is the reason. And in solids, since instead of energy levels, you are having energy bands, so they are having broad absorption and emission spectra. So in case of ruby laser, what we are using for pumping, we are using a helical xenon flash lamp. So with the help of this helical xenon flash lamp, we will provide the light photons, and with the help of those light photons, we will achieve population inversion. So this is the second component of a ruby laser. Then the third one, the third essential component of ruby laser is resonant cavity. And you know what is the meaning of resonant cavity. We have already discussed resonant cavity in the main component of laser system. So resonant cavity, what is that? It is basically a combination of two mirrors which are kept at two ends of active medium. So again, in ruby laser, the two ends of ruby rod, you have that aluminum oxide crystal, and that aluminum oxide crystal is doped with chromium ions. So what is done there? The two ends of that crystal, they are made silvered, they are made reflecting, and one of the end is made fully reflecting and the other one is made partially reflecting. So those two ends of ruby rod, that ruby crystal, will play the role of resonant cavity. So the two ends, they are polished, they are made reflecting, and they are made reflecting in such a way that one end is made fully reflecting and the other one is partially reflecting. So you will get the output from partially reflecting end. So these are the three components of ruby laser: active medium, then pumping source, then this resonant cavity. And you can understand that construction with the help of this block diagram. So what you have here, you have this pink ruby crystal. This is Al2O3 crystal, and in this Al2O3 crystal, chromium ions are added. So these chromium ions, they are the active ions. So this is your active medium. You can see here this cylindrical rod, pink ruby rod, that is playing the role of active medium. This helical xenon tube, this helical xenon flash lamp, that will provide the light photons. It means this will give you the pumping source. This is active medium, first part, then this helical xenon tube, that is your second part, pumping source, right? With the help of this helical xenon tube, photons, they will incident over this ruby crystal, chromium ions of that ruby crystal, and then there will be transition, there will be population inversion. After that, the third one is, you have these two ends. This one is completely silvered mirror. This end is fully reflecting end, and this one is partially reflecting. One end is made fully reflecting and other one is partially reflecting. So photons, they will always move between these two mirrors, and when there will be sufficient amplification, from where you will get the light, from where you will get the laser beam, you will get the laser beam through this partially silvered end. In addition to these three components, there is one additional part of this ruby laser, and that one is, you can see here, cooling. So a large amount of heat that will be produced in this ruby laser, excessive heat which is not desirable in this ruby laser, that will be produced in ruby laser. So we have to remove that excessive heat. So a coolant, basically water is used as a coolant here. So this is a glass tube, and in this glass tube continuously water is circulated, and that water will remove the excessive heat from this ruby laser, right? So this is the construction of this first solid state laser. Now I will explain the working of ruby laser with the help of this energy level diagram. So since it is a 3-level laser, so 3 energy states will be there. So the first energy state is this one, that is the ground energy state. Second one is this metastable state E2, and the third one is this state E3. Ground state E1, metastable state E2, and excited state E3. So as you know, in the active medium you have Al2O3 crystal as the host, and in that Al2O3 crystal you have chromium ions, and only those chromium ions, they are participating in light amplification. So this energy level diagram is applicable for those chromium ions only. So you know, initially those chromium ions, most of the chromium ions of this ruby rod, they are present in ground state. So when they are present in ground state, now we are connecting this ruby laser with a helical xenon flash lamp, and through that helical xenon flash lamp we are providing light photons. So through that helical xenon flash lamp, light photons, they will strike over this active medium. So when these photons will strike over this active medium, photons of different energy will be provided through that helical xenon flash lamp. Now out of all the photons which will be provided by that pumping source, the chromium ions which are present in ground state, what they will do, they will absorb photons of a certain wavelength, certain energy. They will absorb photons of wavelength 5500 angstrom. Reason is, only photons of that much energy, they are required for a transition from ground state to excited state. So for this pumping transition, since photons of wavelength 5500 angstrom, only these photons are utilized, so only these photons will be absorbed, and after absorbing these photons, chromium ions will move from 1 to 3. So the first transition is your pumping transition here. But that helical xenon flash lamp, that is not only providing photons of this much wavelength, that source is providing photons of different energy, different wavelength. It means the photons of rest of the energy, those photons are not utilized. Those photons will be wasted there, and they will appear in the form of heat. So that is a one reason of heat in a ruby laser, and you have to, that heat is not desirable, you have to remove that heat from ruby laser. So the first transition in a ruby laser is from ground state to this excited state, and that transition is known as pumping transition or optical pumping transition, and due to this transition, chromium ions will be pumped from state number 1 to 3. Now you know this state is an excited state, and these chromium ions, they cannot stay here for a longer duration. They can stay here only for a short duration. So these chromium ions, when they will come to this state number 3, now 3 means they are highly excited chromium ions. they are highly energetic. Why I am saying highly energetic? Because their energy is very high in state number 3. Now these highly excited chromium ions, they will start colliding with the crystal lattice. They will collide with that Al2O3 crystal, that crystal lattice. And when they will collide, when they will strike over that crystal lattice, they will transfer some part of their energy to the crystal lattice. It means when they will interact, when they will collide with that crystal lattice, they are going to produce heat there. There will be decrease in the energy, and that energy will appear in the form of heat. So that is one more reason that you are getting unwanted heat in this ruby laser. So when these chromium ions, these excited chromium ions, when they will collide with the crystal lattice, and because of that collision, there will be a decrease in the energy, and these chromium ions will come down from this excited state 3 to metastable state 2. Now this state number 2, that is having a longer lifetime. This lifetime is approximately 10 raised to power minus 3 seconds. So now what is going on here? From 1, using optical pumping source, using photons of green color, 5500 angstrom wavelength, there will be pumping from state number 1 to 3. Now in 3, they will stay only for 10 raised to power minus 8 seconds. But when they are present in that excited state, they are highly energetic. Their kinetic energy is very high. These chromium ions will collide with the crystal lattice, and because of that collision, they will transfer the energy in the form of heat, and chromium ions will come down from 3 to 2. So when they are coming down from 3 to 2, now they are going to stay there for a longer duration. They can stay there for 10 raised to power minus 3 seconds. So the population of 2 will start increasing. Why it is increasing? Because chromium ions can stay there for a longer duration. Whereas the population of state 1 is continuously decreasing. Why it is decreasing? Because these chromium ions from 1, they are continuously pumped to 3. Population of 1 is decreasing, whereas the population of 2 is increasing. Now a time will come when you will have more chromium ions in metastable state. So the time when you have more chromium ions in metastable state as compared to ground state, that is known as population inversion state. And once you will achieve that population inversion, you know, few chromium ions which will complete their lifetime in metastable state 2, they will automatically come down to 1. And when they will come down to 1, what they will do? They are going to emit energy in the form of photon. And when they will emit their energy in the form of photon, and that photon is having wavelength 6943 angstrom. So now you are getting a photon due to spontaneous emission of this much wavelength. Now this photon, what is the role of this photon now? The photons which are emitted due to spontaneous emission, now they will start moving moving between the two mirrors of that active medium. And when they are moving between those two mirrors, these photons, they can interact with these chromium ions. So when these photons will interact with chromium ions of metastable state 2, they will send these chromium ions from 2 to 1. And when forcefully these photons, they are triggering a transition from 2 to 1, then you will get a transition known as stimulated emission. Means one photon which was emitted due to spontaneous emission, it is triggering stimulated emission transition. Now those two photons, just give me 1 minute. So you are having one photon due to spontaneous emission. This one photon is interacting with chromium ions of metastable state 2. Because of the interaction between these two, there will be stimulated emission transition. One is converted into 2. These two, they can interact with 2 more chromium ions, and because of that interaction, 2 new photons will be generated. These two, they can interact with 2 more chromium ions. It means they can give you 4 photons. Then 4 photons, they will convert into 8. 8 photons, they will convert into 16, and this multiplication of photons will go on. And one more point is there, only the photons which are moving parallel to the axis of this ruby rod, only those photons, they will move back and forth, they will move between these two mirrors. Only those photons which are moving parallel to the axis of ruby rod, they will participate in light amplification. And rest of the photons which are not moving parallel to the axis of ruby rod, they will escape from this active medium. So they will not participate in light amplification. So that is one important point here. So then you will get stimulated emission transition here. One photon convert into 2, 2 will convert into 4, 4 will convert into 8, 8 will convert into 16, and this multiplication will go on. And when the energy of photons will become very, very high, then those photons, they will escape from the partially reflecting end in the form of a laser beam. And all these photons of this laser beam, they are of same energy, they are of same wavelength, which is 6943 angstrom. So let me conclude this energy level diagram of ruby laser. 3 energy states: ground, metastable and excited state. The first transition, that is your pumping transition from 1 to 3. Then second one is a radiation-less transition from 3 to 2. After this, there will be a transition from 2 to 1. First you will get spontaneous emission, then it will convert into stimulated emission. So in this way, you are going to get a laser beam through this ruby laser, right? So these are the steps which I have already explained with the help of energy level diagram. Now the applications of ruby laser. So ruby laser, that has tremendous application in different fields. Ruby laser, since the output power is low, so they are used in toys for children, used in decoration pieces and artistic displays. Since you are getting visible light from ruby laser, so in decoration pieces and in artistic displays, these ruby lasers are used. Ruby laser, that is used in science programs. Ruby laser, that is used extensively in for removing tattoos and for hair removal. So in dermatology, for removing tattoos and for hair removal, ruby laser is used. Ruby laser is also used for the construction and reconstruction of holograms. As you know, holography is 3-dimensional photography, where we can get a 3D image of a 3D object. In ordinary photograph, you can have a 2D image of a 3D object, whereas in hologram, we will get a 3D image of a 3D object. So for the construction of holograms and for the reconstruction of those holograms, ruby laser is used. So these are few applications of ruby laser. Thank you so much.